to the next session, TAV in TAV. As moderator, I would like to invite Dr. Anil Dhal sir once again on the dais, and chairperson Dr. Shomik Chaudhuri, Dr. BP Chatterjee, panelists Dr. Anant Kumar Pandey, Dr. Oriam Kaur, Dr. Sumit Shankar.
There's too much of packed learning in, but I think it's a very exciting concept, and I must compliment Dilip for having put it all together and got some really focused force happening here. Nobody else is here, so may I request Anmol to start off with his Tower in Tower. We've already had a presentation, but I think you can clarify many of the doubts.
Yeah, I think good afternoon, and thank you so much, Dr. Dilip Kumar, for a wonderful concept of sharing knowledge and teaching and spreading it. So I think the stage has already been set. Dr. Ramesh Dagubati, we started with a normal tower, then tower in SAVR, and now the coronary protection, multiple things. We realized that the coronary obstruction is one of the most dreaded thing what anyone can see or experience during this kind of procedure. And mortality, if you see, it is almost 60% if even with rescue, and 100% if not been rescued. So now we are moving to the more difficult subject, tower in tower. So if you see, the numbers started growing in last 2 years, and the numbers almost doubled. But what we started seeing, the 5.5% of the tower devices are degenerating in 6 years, and almost 10% are degenerating in 7 years, and they required a re-intervention. If you see, the more common phenomena of degeneration is regurgitant. Almost 6% of the people come with regurgitant failure. If you see, even the partner low risk cohort, the aortic valve tower in tower reintervention at the end of 5 years is almost 2.2 to 2.6%. So this is what I was saying. If you see the numbers from 2020 to 2025, the number almost double. We crossed from 500 to 10,000 towers in a year, and we are going to see this subset of tower in tower quite often in our routine practice. Tower in tower has been well studied, but this is still the new subject what we have to do a lot of learning. Current experience, if you see, it is very small. The number of patients what we are tackling as of today is less than 1% for TAV in TAV. So we are talking more about it. Numbers are very small currently. The implant experience is very limited even with the operators at the larger centers. And early phase of optimizing and sharing our experiences and pool gathering learning will be helpful. So why it is important and how it is different? Dagubati Ramesh has already shared. TAV in SAV is pretty well standardized because it is quite easy because the valve is well implanted at the annulus. Surgeons have implanted valve at the annulus. Valve have a similar, almost all the type of surgical valve, if you see the height of this valve is similar. And the valve dimensions, like what is the exact inner dimension, we have done an extensive bench testing and everything, and we come out to the true ID, and we decide our transcatheter valve, which we are going to put in TAV in SAV from the true ID. But contrary to this, why it is not similar like TAV in SAV and TAV in TAV? The TAV in TAV is very different because the depth of implant varies completely. Somebody is deploying at 0, somebody at 3, somebody is into sinus, somebody is 5. So it varies depending on the device and the platform. The valve have a different structure. It is not a unanimous height. We have a short frame valve, we have a long frame valve. Some are 45, some are 55. And the leaflet positioning in that tower prosthesis is also very different. And if what we learned in vitro sizing as well as in vivo sizing, the shape and size is very different. We are going to know and learn these terminologies which can be helpful for TAV in TAV. The commissure, the leaflet outflow attachment is called a commissure, which will be vary for a short frame valve and a long frame valve. VTC, it is a valve to coronary distance, but it is a valve which is a virtual valve what we are going to put it. That valve to the coronary distance is called as VTC. Then the risk plane. See, the risk plane is the plane at the level where the stent frame of the first transcatheter valve, which become a tube graft or a cover stent after putting a second tower prosthesis there. And a VTA is a valve to aorta distance. We'll come to know in subsequent conversation what are the implications and what are the importance of this all new terminology and measurements. See, what is important in redo tower or TAV in TAV and what we have to consider. First problem is which is the second transcatheter heart valve we are going to use in given tower situation. Second is what size. Third is prevention of coronary complication, because this is the most dreaded subset where the coronary complication, if it happens, we don't have any rescue. And the fourth important thing is putting a valve and rescuing coronary and everything is okay, but that valve should function. So optimum positioning and even the functioning is very important, because too lower deployment will give rise to leaflet overhang and the purpose will not suffice, and too much high deployment will cause an coronary obstruction which will never going to salvage. So you have to understand, before thinking about TAV in TAM, we are going to create a tube graft in front of the coronary, because there is a covered portion of the stent and then your leaflet are going to stand still and going to cover the complete stent frame. It varies, the distance will vary depending on the platform which has been used at the first time, whether it is a balloon expandable or a self-expandable. It is more challenging and more cumbersome with a self-expandable platform for subsequent TAV in TAV. So what are the landmarks which are important for tower device, which can help us? See, the landmark which is going to give us a leaflet height, where to measure for the sizing, and what is the coronary risk plane. For a balloon expandable valve, you can see the leaflet is going to go for whether MyValve or Sapien, it is the commissural tab. The top end of the commissural tab is going to be your complete neoskirt plane or a tube graft plane. For self-expandable, when I'm talking about balloon expandable, it is a commissural post. And for self-expandable platform, it is node. So start getting acclimatized to these terminologies as well as the node. So self-expandable platform, we start about, this is 0 node, then every junction is 1 node. This is node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you are going to create a cover stent till the node 6. So this is what, if you put and do a TAV in TAV, this is about the tube graft what we are going to create in front of the coronary osteums. And for accurate neo, which has been withdrawn, but what are the implant has been done in the past, if they come and degenerate in future and come back to us, you have to understand. Here, the bottom of the commissural tab, till that level, you are going to create a cover tube graft. So you are landing into, depending on which of the valve has been used, there are only 4 combination or situations what you can see in your practice when you are addressing a case of TAV in TAV. Either you are going to put a short frame into a short frame, you are going to put a tall frame valve into the tall frame valve. Third is you are going to put a tall frame valve into the short frame valve, or you are going to put a short frame valve into the tall frame valve. These are the only 4 situations what you are going to get. But why this is important? See, these are the just and what, once you put a TAV in TAV, how they are going to look it. But see, what is important, in 3 situations, when you are going to put a short frame in short frame, or tall frame in short frame, or a tall frame in tall frame, your neoskirt plane is constant. You will not be able to modify it at all. Whatever the cover stent or tube graft you are going to create, it will be constant. Tall in tall situation you will not face, because it is the most dreaded thing, and you will always land up into the 4th situation, short in tall. You are going to use a short frame valve into the tall frame valve which has been used in the first case. So the 4th situation, if you are going to use a short frame valve into the tall frame valve, then the neoskirt, the tube graft, you have if you position the valve at a different node level, then you can modify and you can reduce the covered portion and a tube graft, and you can have an escape for the coronary perfusion. So this is the concept. If you use and deploy your valve at the 6, there will be a complete tube graft till the node 6. If you deploy your valve at node 5, then you can have little lesser cover portion, and node 4 it is less cover portion. Why it is important, I will tell you in subsequent slides. So what is important? See, if you put a valve 2 up, there will be, it is a trade-off. It is a less leaflet overhang, but high risk coronary risk plane. So what is a coronary risk plane? This we have to understand. The neoskirt plane, that is a tube graft plane, if it is above the coronary, then you are going to have a big trouble. Your coronaries are not going to fill. So this is a coronary risk plane. I think I'll take some time for a few minutes extra because it is a very complex thing to explain in a very limited slides. So the coronary risk plane is the lower portion of the coronary artery which arises from the annular plane. And then that plane is a virtual plane, what you will get it. You have to study it. It is arising at which node? Because you know your coronary neoskirt plane is at this level. And if your coronary plane is lower than that, you are going to have a complete coronary obstruction. So just take an example. If your coronary risk plane, that the coronary ostium are coming at the node 4, then this is your, node 4 is your coronary risk plane. If your valve neoskirt plane is, if you deploy the valve at node 6, you are going to create a complete cover stand in front of the coronary ostium. Then the risk of both the coronaries will get occluded will be very high. If you deploy your valve at node 5, then you can see the right is have an escape, it will fill, but your left coronary is still at the risk. And if you deploy the valve at the node 4 or below the node 4, then there is no risk for the coronary occlusion, but there will be a huge amount of leaflet overhang above this new valve what you are going to put. If the valve failure is stenotic, then putting a TAV in TAV is not going to suffice the purpose. If it is a regurgitant, still the significant amount of overhang will be a problem. This is just another thing to understand it. If you deploy the valve too deep or node 4, the previous valve will completely overhang the new valve. If you deploy it at node 5, there will be some leaflet overhang. You can see it here also to understand it better. Here it is a complete overhang. It is almost 60% overhang. And if you deploy it at node 6, there is no leaflet overhang. So you have to understand the trade-off between complete overhang versus coronary protection. So whenever you are going to get a long frame valve which is degenerated and you have to put a short frame, you have to have an additional measurement when your coronary risk plane is below the neoskirt plane. So what are those measurements? VTA, valve to aorta distance, VTC, as I mentioned, valve to coronary distance, VTAOS, that is valve to ascending aorta to sinus distance, and VTSTJ. Why it is important? Because if you don't measure this and if there is no good room around the valve frame to fill the coronary, we are going to completely sequester sinus and occlude the coronaries, and it is extremely impossible to get into that situation or enter that coronary ever. Whatever may be the expertise of coronary, so you must be having it in your life. So depending on that, this has been classified. VTA distance more than 4 has been considered safe. 2 to 4 is a probable and a possible risk. You should always have a safety mechanism in this zone. And if the VTA is less than 2, I think it is better. We should not touch and we should not intervene. As I said, the sizing in vitro and in vivo sizing is more accurate. So sizing and deciding the valve for TAV in TAV is very different. You have to make a multiple measurements at multiple sites, because if you see in vivo size, in valve evaluate 26, we are going to use a 23. But in vivo, in 29, ideally you should use 26. But by making a multiple measurements and area and perimeter, we are going to use a 23. So there is a under expansion if you use the bigger size, asymmetric expansion and more chance of halt. For a balloon expandable valve, we make 3 measurements at the outflow, inflow, and waste size. But for the self-expandable, you take at least 4 measurements and take an average of it. You just have to take these measurements on a CT and use this TAV and TAV app. If you feed all this data in this TAV and TAV app, which has been a genius work which has been done by Dr. Vinayak Bapat and team, if you feed into this app, you will get all the answers, where the risk plane is, where the neoskirt plane is, whether your coronaries are safe, whether what size of valve you are going to use, and whether your coronaries will get perfused or no. This is the workflow what you will see in this app. So the CT planning, see if your coronary risk plane is above the neoskirt plane, you don't have to worry about it. Just go and deploy the valve and come out. If no, then see what is the STJ, whether STJ is above neoskirt plane. Yes, then just see the VTA and VTC. If they are more than 4, just do the tower. If no, then see the VT STJ. If VT STJ has a good space, then just do a tower, otherwise abandon it. So I think if time permits, I'll show the case, otherwise I'll conclude. In conclusion, TAV and TAV requires a more CT planning. Choice of second value and the depth of implantation should be individualized for each patient. Leaflet modification may be enabled to redo tower in anatomies that are high risk for coronary obstruction, and outcomes of